Hey folks, Roland Martin here with BWoke.vote. Well, of course, we're focused on 2018 midterm elections, trying to get you focused not just on the issues, but also on the importance of using the power you have to cast your ballot. Today, we'll be chatting with Erica Ash. She joins me right now, of course. You've seen her on television and in the movies, and so normally she's the wild child, but today she gets to be a little bit more sedate, if you will. I think. What's happening?
Hey, how are you? Thank
All
you
good?
for having me.
All good. Well, first of all, so I see you broke out the proper attire.
You know, I tried, but I put a little spin on it. I put like a little ethnic spin on the flag.
Right.
Know, so it's a little.
But first of all, when I see that, I immediately think of the poster from Birth of a Nation with a man, Nate Parker, where actually the flag was a noose.
Interesting.
Yeah, so no, when I saw that poster, I said, dude, you got to sign that and send that.
Right.
I said, because that's going to go alongside all the art in my house, because it was an amazing poster.
Yeah, and I did a photo shoot with a similar flag as well, just to kind of like, and it was me blindfolded and kind of shackled and just, doing various poses of kind of oppression and stuff like that. I mean, you get mixed feelings when you look at the flag.
I think one of the things is that people don't quite understand, that white folks don't understand. Our view of the flag, and even when you talk about democracy, when you talk about voting, it's totally different than theirs, because it's a different perspective when you talk about freedom. And here we are, 399 years since the first 20-odd Africans arrived in the United States and Virginia, and we still are trying to get all of the rights that we were supposed to have.
Right. I mean, when you think about it, it's a bit hypocritical. I mean, they were creating this flag and creating all of these laws with people in this country as they were creating it, being excluded from the laws that they were actually creating. So what is it? One nation under God, like all men were not included in that. So it was it's a weird hypocrisy when you think about it.
Well, I was just arguing with someone. Actually, it wasn't quite arguing, because I smacked him down real quick on Twitter.
Was this physically?
Nah, but I should have done it physically. If I would have.
I'm glad you didn't.
Well, because he said, well, look, everything is. I made the point about that we've had 114 Supreme Court justices in America. 108 have been white men. I said, if you want to understand the history of America,
100%.
right there, out of 114, 108 have been white men. Yeah. And he goes, well, things have been working out great. I said,
have they though?
Really? I was like, oh.
Was that when the smack happened?
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
when
right.
The smack would have happened for me.
Right.
Yeah.
That's when the tweet went to all of my followers, so therefore they can get in on the action.
Right.
When I'm busy.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes you just want to let them have it. It's like kind of like the Beehive for Beyonce. Sometimes you just don't want to get your hands dirty. It's like, you know what, this is too easy. I'm gonna just let y'all have this.
Oh yeah, and they're very good at handling that.
I know they are.
But again, it's a different perspective, because when you look at the history of this country, when you look at the fact that even when we talk about just this idea of voting, when you look at the efforts today with voter suppression, even the craziness with voter ID, people go, oh, but ID is simple. I'm like, yeah, but once you start going underneath, where you have to have a certain type of ID, we must see the birth certificate, it must be raised,
right.
It must be a certain paperweight. I mean, look, these are barriers that are put in place.
Can I just be quite frank with you? I think that it even goes beyond that. I don't think anyone ever meant for us to get this far in voting. Just the way that it's set up, the language that's used. I think a lot of people end up not voting or being politically active because a lot of people just don't understand the terms. I mean, I'm fully grown. We're reaching out and we're targeting the millennials and we're targeting Generation Z, which I don't even know how old they are. Like what is the Generation Z? How old are y'all?
Yeah, my niece was telling me, she's like, well, no, we're not millennials. I'm like, what the hell are you then? And so I said, look, I'm not trying to come up with another letter.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's no more letters. After you get to Z, we're done.
Right.
We're done. So what is it? Is it the end of the world?
Circle back to A?
Right. Is it double A, double B? Is we doing broad sizes right now? I don't know what's happening. But I think at the end of the day, nobody wants to feel stupid. And I think what happens a lot of times, people don't want to admit that they don't understand what these terms mean. And people talk about it, they talk about the electorate and the gubernatorial and blah, blah, blah. You might as well be saying Oshkosh, bagosh, blah, 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 because people just don't get it.
But they don't want to. We haven't had real civics, though.
Right.
I mean, we haven't had real, I'm talking about honest civics.
Exactly.
Not that fake stuff that actually exists in the classroom.
Right, and even with the fake stuff that exists in the classroom, because I took that, even with the fake stuff, everything is glossed over. And then all of a sudden, you're supposed to know what everybody's talking about. And that's always been a problem for me, when I'm dealing with political conversations. I mostly listen. And so I can only imagine what, these millennials, you 12-year-olds are out here thinking, when it comes to understanding what's happening in politics. I mean, you understand when it directly affects you, you understand, if I get pulled over, bad things could happen. But when you're talking about actually taking action to change what's going on in the political climate, that's where you're arrested because you're just kind of like, well, I don't really know who to vote for because this person is speaking way over my head.
First of all, when you say arrested, there's a sister in Fort Worth who served time in federal prison. Mm-hmm. She gets out. Mm-hmm. She votes. She doesn't realize that she lost her right to vote.
Right.
She gets prosecuted. She's sitting in a federal prison right now not only for voter fraud, but also parole violation. So she's in there for 5 years for simply casting a ballot. Now, we're going to spend an inordinate amount of dollars to lock her up for 5 years because she said, no one told me. And in fact, her probation officer testified that that there was nothing, wasn't like you got out and it was kind of like, oh, by the way, here's a sheet of paper. You can't vote.
Right.
She had no idea. 5 years she's sitting in federal prison right now in Texas.
And there are a lot of people who are in that same predicament. They don't necessarily go out and vote, but a lot of people, they don't know if they can. They don't know what to do, how to do it, where to do it. They get, all these documents and pamphlets in the mail, but they don't really understand how to dig through and figure it all out. So I think, the solution, because I'm all about solutions, is figuring out a way to reintroduce that into the school system. We're talking to the generation that doesn't even write in cursive anymore. You know what I mean? Lots of things are switching. They can't read cursive. So, I feel like that's going to be the next step. The ballot's going to be in cursive. So then that's going to be another way to kind of rule us out. And
that's going to be the new poll tax.
It's all in cursive, y'all. Sorry, Generation Z, AA, Triple D. I don't know what to tell you. It's, it's really unfair and it's really unfortunate. But there have to be hard steps in changing it around because there's no point in sitting around. I'm never one to just complain. I don't like it. It just doesn't. It's not effective.
Well, it's also, I think, walking people through. I mean, so one of the things that I've always done is utilize television and radio, and also social media to teach folks. I never thought about it that way until about a month before she died, Dr. Maya Angelou, when she was being honored at the National Portrait Gallery. I did an interview with her, and she said, "No, I said, no, my brother and my sister are the teachers." She's like, no. She said, "You're a teacher." She said, "I watch you. You actually teach." And I was kind of like, okay, I never thought about it that way. But the reality is, to your point, the average person doesn't know. The reality is there is no affirmative right to vote in this country. There isn't. It was specifically set up that way. People think, oh, no, I have a right to vote. Actually, you don't. There's nowhere in the Constitution that says you have an absolute right to vote. We learned that in the Bush v. Gore decision when then Justice Antonin Scalia wrote that there's no affirmative decision there. Now it says on their constitutional amendments that say you as a woman and me as an African American can't be denied the right to vote.
Right.
But there's nothing that says no, you absolutely have that right. And then it's not from federal. It is also it's local. So you might live in a county. I live in a different county, even in the same state. I might have paper ballots. I may have punch. You might have electronic. Because the rules are different. And so it's this whole convoluted system that confuses people, even to the point where if you lived in apartment A and you moved to apartment B, in most places you have to re-register because you literally moved right next door.
Right, or right across the street because you've changed zip codes. You've got a different polling place. But when you think about it, when you break it down, when you think about, okay, so not only do I have to figure out what these candidates stand for and what they're talking about when they're giving all these speeches and literally every other word I might have to look up in the dictionary just to figure out where their viewpoints are. I have to also figure out, okay, I have to look at my history. Am I allowed to vote? Is there, will I be arrested sitting in federal prison because I cast this ballot? Then there's, well, what county am I in and where do I go now to vote? And then it's, okay, there are all these others, all these different categories of people to vote for. It's not just the president of the United States. Right. It's just, you've got your governors and you've got your senate, you've got your statesmen, like all these different things that you have to, and then all of those, all their platforms are not, they're not laid out there. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to go and you kind of have to like
put
research.
The work in.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's a lot to do. And I think that it's
overwhelming. Just say, you know what? Right.
And it's much easier to just be like, you know what? There's too many things.
We're going to probably have in the midterm elections more than half of the American population not cast a ballot. Yeah, unfortunately. But then I also have this other view where my deal is very simple. I use two versions. So I use one for mainstream television. I say vote or shut the hell up. But the other one really is vote or shut the fuck up.
Right.
Because I can't because there's nothing worse for me than people who complain about a system. Because folks really don't understand that literally everything in our life is impacted by the ballot. Right. There's nothing in our lives that isn't determined by politics some way or another.
Right.
If you were wearing something that was actually exported from another country, it had to go through a particular procedure that was established by government.
Right.
Folk walk around, that's why I love all the Republicans who say, I want limited government. I'm going, good luck with that.
Right.
I mean, you can go, even if you decide to go live in the woods, trust me, you got to figure out, well, I'm living on federal land or am I living on some other land?
Right.
And that's also, I think, part of this piece where people go, oh, no. That, none of that stuff matters anything in my life when, oh, yes, it does. It matters a hell of a whole lot.
Well, I want to go back to two things that you said. The first one, I definitely agree with my Angela. You are the consummate teacher, and I think that's why so many people really, really love you, and why I'm so happy that you are actually a part of this BeWoke.vote campaign. And I think also in terms of us having so many less people voting in this midterm elections, I think that can be shifted, even if it's just a few percentage points by things like this.
Look,
us
that was a
together,
race.
us talking about it, because it's like double dutch. It's over. You're like, where do I jump in? How to jump in? You just try.
Right.
And even if you stop the ropes, you get back out and you try again. So
But it actually does matter.
Exactly.
And people, but see, I think the hardest thing for people, they go, okay, I'm hearing about the Russians, I'm hearing this. Right now, Republicans hold a 1-vote majority in the Virginia House of Delegates. And the only reason they hold that is because that was in the last election, that was a tie. It was decided by a coin flip.
Oh, wow.
They ended up the exact same number of votes.
Right.
And the coin flip, Republican wins the coin flip.
Wow.
Keeps the seat, and otherwise the Democrats could have taken control of both chambers. A coin flip.
Right. Right.
So when somebody
and that
tells me
the complete face of everything after that,
my one vote is no big deal.
Right.
Obama wins North Carolina by 14,000 votes in 2008. That literally, if you break it down, the number of precincts, one per precinct.
Right.
One vote.
Right.
And folks go, oh, really? I'm going, yes.
Right.
You just don't understand how that can make the difference.
Yeah, it really, really does. And I think, getting people together who are like-minded, right? If you don't know exactly what's happening, I think the first thing is don't be ashamed of that. Don't be ashamed to say, I don't really know what that means. I don't know what that term means. I don't know what this politician stands for. Even if everyone's talking about it, people are scared to get laughed at. Now, I'm the queen of no shame, as we know.
Yes, we know.
But I feel like a lot of people, like, the ego gets in the way, right?
Yep.
And you don't want to be the one friend that looks stupid. I'm always looking stupid. But the thing is I'll ask questions. I'll say,
Yep.
you know what? I haven't watched TV this weekend. What happened? Talk to me.
Right.
So my friends now know. They're like, oh, Erica's come out from under her rock now. Let me explain to her. But I have to do that because I wouldn't know what's going on otherwise, because it really does get confusing. And I get like,
Oh, yeah.
it's overwhelming, and I get mind overload, and I just have to shut everything off.
Look, I have other friends who are celebrities who, Michael Bibbins, New Edition. So Michael called me and he said, dude, he said, okay, what's going on with this? Then what's going on with this? He said, hey, I'm gonna call you every now and then. So if I don't understand what in the hell is going on, he said, I want to be able to ask you. And so there are other people as well. So they'll send me a text and say, Roland, first they go, is this true?
Right.
And then it's, okay, what's the real deal with this? How major is it? And I'm kind of like, okay, boom, 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 hit them right back. They're like, okay, cool. They move on. And my deal is, I'm cool with that because for a lot of them, they want to be educated on, and they say, look, I trust you're going to give me the information, and then I can take it from there. Now, that's when you also got to have my stuff together, because it can be running around quoting me going, Roland said,
right.
And then if it's crazy, they're like, that really did happen.
Exactly. Then your Twitter followers are going to let you have it. But that's the thing. I think everybody needs 3 friends. You need that one friend that's not going to make you feel stupid because you say you don't know. The one friend who does know everything and can spout it out. I mean, like a Roland Martin Jr. And then you need that one friend to translate.
I make it easy. You don't need to translate.
Right, you do.
You don't need to translate.
You do. But those friends that's always like, oh yeah, well, the woman is and you're like, girl, I don't know what you're saying. What? Talk to me like I'm a 5th grader. Break it down to me in simplistic terms so I know exactly what you're saying and exactly what I'm going to do about it.
Okay, now somebody who's watching, they probably will say, oh no, that's not basic. What they don't realize is we as a journalist, we are actually trained. Newspapers are written for fifth graders. No, that's not a joke. We literally are written. Al Newhart, of course, who was the founder of USA Today, used to be the CEO of Gannett. He used to always hate reading George Will with the Washington Post. He said, I don't ever want to have to read a newspaper and have a dictionary right next to me. He said, make it plain for the people. Now, Joe Madison, Sirius XM Radio, the Black Eagle, he has, now, Joe go right to the heart of it. Joe go, you got to put it where the goats can get it. Now, who understands? Hey, none of y'all been to the country, so not a single one of the people that know what the hell I'm talking about.
You talking
who
to
knows?
the Z's,
what does that
now.
mean?
I'm from the country, so.
Okay, when I say put it where the goats can get it, what does that mean?
Make it as simple and as big.
Not even make it plain. Where do goats eat?
Off the ground, the grass,
Grass.
floor.
He is
Lowest common denominator. Make it
Boom.
absolutely as
There you
simple
go.
as you can make
What
it.
country you from? That ain't the country. I'm talking about the country. Country with a K.
I'm from Tallahassee, Woodville, Florida, myself. Alligators in the backyard. So I know what you're saying.
But again, that is critically important because I think there's so many people who are confused. To your point, they are frustrated, and also I think when we look at a lot of these media institutions, they also are not talking about issues that folks actually care about.
Right.
I mean, when I sat there and watched all of, it was very interesting. So you get the Brett Kavanaugh Supreme Court confirmation going on, and then at the same time, the decision came down in the Laquan McDonald case. And so when the jury verdict came down, not a single cable news network broke away from waiting for Susan Collins to give a speech to say, hey, this story out of Chicago, Jason Van Dyke has been found guilty.
Right.
It was just all sort of the same thing, and I think that's also a huge deal. Are you talking about things that I care about and then putting it in a way where I understand how my life is impacted?
Right. And also the side of it that matters most to us. You know, you could talk about the issues that are relevant to us, but you could skew it in a way that makes us sort of feel the way that you want us to feel about it. And that's what I think a lot of news outlets do as well. You know, it's whatever the issue is, they discuss it so that we see it their way instead of making it plain, allowing us to make our own decision, or equally looking at both sides of it. You know, Fox, you're not going to, you know, I don't necessarily have to say the networks or the TV, you know, news
Either you said
outlets or whatever.
you said like real quick, just slid it in
Did
there. I heard
I?
you. I heard you.
Did I?
Yes, I heard you. Yes. Yeah, the microphone picked you up. Yes.
Oh, my.
Yeah, we heard it.
So sensitive. Everything here is so sensitive.
But he's
you
at
know
the
what
piece
I
though.
mean.
He's at the piece though. So look, go beyond Fox. If you're Black and Latino, it's not like the other networks are doing a bang up job. Again, speaking to those issues that impact us in a much different way.
Right. Right.
First election you voted in, what was it?
Gosh. Oh my gosh. Do you want me to be completely honest?
No, I want you to lie. Yes.
Then when I was 18, I voted, Obama.
That was the first one? So that wasn't the first one you were eligible for.
Right.
So
You're not going to date me on the internets right now.
What?
But yes, I was definitely eligible to vote a couple of presidents. Like one or two before Obama.
So you hadn't voted in any election, not congressional, not city, not county.
I did
school
one, but I don't
district?
even remember. I don't even remember what the election was that I voted in, so I don't count it. I mean, it did count. My vote did count in that one, but I can't remember to call the level of election that I voted in. So the one that I vividly remember voting in is Obama.
So after 2008, did you then look at other elections, or did you only vote in presidential?
No, I started voting from there, and so I would do the midterms, and I would do I did start voting from that point on. I didn't vote in every single election from that point on, but I did start voting more regularly.
Growing up, was that a part of your upbringing?
No, it was not. That was not something my parents ever, took me to the polls. And I think, unfortunately, in a lot of communities, that's not something that we're ever taught to do, taking as a family to the polls and saying, hey, look, this is what we do. This is where we vote. I mean, religion was huge in my family. Education was huge in my family.
So y'all went,
Politics was
so
not.
you had to go to church.
Listen, we had to go to church, Sunday school, Bible study, choir rehearsal, all the public service that they did on Saturdays. We did everything church-based because both my parents were preachers.
Hold on. So both of your parents were preachers. Mm-hmm. So when they had souls to the polls,
not in my church.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I mean, we would have the odd candidate come to a service, but my church growing up wasn't very, politics meets religion heavy. I see that a lot now in my church that I go to now. Like, I mean, the politicians will come out on that one odd Sunday right before election.
Oh yeah, they'll be there.
Oh, they know Jesus then. So I see it all the time now. But when I was growing up, no, that wasn't a big part of our upgrade.
So you think that's also an answer? Because earlier you said put it in the schools, but also I do believe, and again, and for me, the reason I see the value. So my parents worked elections. They volunteered for campaigns. They ran phone banks. I remember being 7, 8, 9 years old. It was like you had no choice. It's not like you had a vote. It was like, yo, go over there for the next 8 hours, stand there and hand out these pamphlets to anybody who's walking in, and then we'll bring you lunch, and then you got some water for yourself. It was kind of like, okay. Again, that was wasn't like my brother could say, nah, we're all right. We gonna stay at the house. It didn't work that way. And so for me, that was a huge part of my upbringing.
And look at you now. And it's very interesting because for me, service was a huge part of my upbringing. And that's just something that's just, it's a natural thing. I don't think twice about going out and doing community service. I don't think twice about giving up my Saturday mornings, even if I stayed out late on Friday nights. I don't think twice about going to church in the mornings. I think that might be even bigger than the civics piece in schools. I mean, I think that at this point, having that in schools at least gives the children the opportunity to go home and ask their parents, so Mom, Dad, what is this? What do you think we should do about this? This is what I learned in school today. Let's talk about it. At least gives the children something to bring home and start a conversation with. However, if the parents start that for the children, then, then the children can go to school and say, hey, why am I not learning this here? Why don't I have a civics class? You know what I mean? And we'll have more Roland Martins running around here.
So see, there's gonna be a problem there because see, when I went to school, let's just say we got into vigorous debates with teachers when it came to government. In fact, I got thrown out. No, because it was a government class. It was 11th grade. Yes, me.
Roland.
Miss Joseph, I don't know why first of all, I don't know why, I don't know why she decided. First of all, here was the problem. She was wrong.
Miss Joseph is watching this thing. You was disrespectful.
But she
That's
was
what
wrong.
it was.
She was wrong. She was absolutely wrong. She said, the person who's serving as president can't serve more than 8 years. I said, that's not true. I said, it is true that they can only serve 2 full terms. But I said, if a person becomes president before the second year, I said they can continue. And she argued with me. I said, I'm sorry, the facts are right there. Lyndon Baines Johnson became president on November 22nd, 1963, when Kennedy was assassinated. The election was in November of 1964. I said he could have run for a second term, which means that he would have served about 9 years as president. I said, how are you arguing? So she was like, and I'm going, it's right here.
See, and I bet you raised your voice just like that.
I
You
did.
said, you're wrong, Miss Joseph.
She was
instead of
wrong.
saying, with all due respect, but these are the facts. It's about the way you present it, Roland.
No.
And
She was mad because I busted her.
And I bet you said that. You mad, Miss Joseph? You mad, Miss Joseph?
So then,
mad.
And then she kept coming at her brother, and I said, okay. So I had like 103 grade in that class, and so we had a test. We had a pop quiz, and I said, you know what? I said, I ain't gonna take this pop quiz. I said, I'm just gonna put just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, put a 0. And I said, here. I said, and what's that gonna drop my grade down by 102.1? See.
Wow.
What?
See,
I mean,
you just your mouth was fast. That's what it was. That was the problem. It wasn't about what you were arguing, because I think,
No,
you know what?
she was
you
wrong.
and I agree
All
with you
she
that
had
she
to
was
say
wrong.
is, Mr. Martin, I stand corrected.
Okay, here's the problem. Now, you know you went to school in a time where teachers weren't saying Mr. Nothing to no kid.
But see,
Mr. Martin, you wrong,
when
and
you-
you right and I'm
when
wrong.
you get corrected, that's when you have, Mr. Martin, you are correct.
Listen, and you just would not leave with anything less than that. But you know your
Precisely.
teacher was old
Precisely.
school. She wanted you
Hey,
to
she
come
can be
at
old
her
school.
in a way.
She can be old school all she wants to.
That's
Bottom
why
line,
you
she
got
was
kicked
wrong.
out.
Bottom line, she was wrong.
I'm sure she was,
And
but
so,
that's why you get
and so,
kicked out.
I was a well-read student. In government?
I believe it. Look at you now.
Government?
Yes.
Oh, hell no. We ain't gonna sit here and just think.
Well, you just basically answered the question right there. I mean, the way that you were raised, the fact that your parents took you to the polls, the fact that they did not make it a choice for you, they actually exposed you to that in a way.
Then my dad watched about 5 hours of news a day. Like, matter of fact, growing up, there were a lot of TV shows I never saw the end of because we would have to turn 15 minutes before the news came on because he didn't even want to miss the promo. I was like, bruh, there's like a 2-minute break at like 58 and the news at 10.
Right.
We can watch till 58. Nah, I wouldn't do it. So,
Wow.
I mean, so, you're right. No, so you talk about that. And in fact, what was interesting is when you talk about, and I use this in speeches all the time, the importance of being aware of those things. I was in 11th grade and it was career day, which we had no idea it was career day. And so we had 2 speakers who came by the class. And so one of them was an Asian woman. She was a municipal judge in Houston. And the other one was a white guy who owned an import-export business. But he also happened to be the former chairman of the Texas Republican Party.
Okay.
And so when it came time to ask questions, we sit in the classroom and it's 30 plus students in the class, all black, and folks just like, I ain't got nothing to say. Let's just end this. And I'm kind of like, so y'all ain't gonna ask no damn questions. All right. And so I start hitting homeboy with questions. And so this was when Reagan was president. I started hitting him with Reagan policies. And I know he was looking like, I don't know who the hell is the black boy sitting on that side of the room.
Right.
But he hit me with some actual policy questions.
Right.
And so so what ended up happening was I walked him to the next class. We ended up talking, and he was like, man, he's a pretty bright student. His daughter was at TCU, Texas Christian University. He said, man, they could really use a student like you, but they were private. I'm like, I ain't going there because we ain't got private school money. But what ended up happening was he had called my parents at night. We stayed in contact. But 2 years, so that was 83 years later, we were going to the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in New York, my first one. And we were broke as hell, like broke. None of us had money. And so we sent 30 letters to foundations all across the state of Texas. We got 29 rejection letters. Then one day, this was like the last letter. We get this letter, I open it up. Hey, blah, blah. Glad to see that you're still involved in journalism. Encloses a $1,000 check from our foundation. Hope this will help you guys go to the convention. And it was that guy, George Strait.
Wow. That's a beautiful full circle moment.
That check allowed us to go to the convention. And nearly every job that I've had has been a result of the relationships that you've established through NABJ.
Wow.
And so when I tell young folks first, people go, "Oh my God, $1,000 check." I said, "No." I said, you shout on the wrong thing.
Right.
I said, the shout is not getting the check. Had I not asked questions, but then had I not watched the news, had not paid attention, had I not read the newspaper, I would not have been able to ask the questions. And then he would not have been able to recognize me.
Right.
I would have been like the other students just sitting there kind of like, I don't know when this white man gonna come out of the office. And so I tell folks that even though he was a Republican, it doesn't matter.
But see, let's take it back. So you're saying, had you not asked questions, had you not watched the news because your dad came home and made you, cop out of your show 15 minutes early, had you not read the newspapers, had you not had your parents who took you to the polls, had you not had, you know what I mean? That
all of
gave
that established a foundation.
Exactly, and that gave you the confidence to be able to go toe to toe and ask those questions. Again, it goes back to my point. Nobody wants to look like an idiot. Nobody wants to be the fool that doesn't know stuff. And you ask a question, and people look like you are really good at doing.
No,
making
no,
you
no,
feel-
no, no.
you know, but
no,
not,
no. Now I only do that when they get it stupid on television. And then, but
Fair
no,
enough.
and that's by design.
Right.
Because when they really say stupid stuff, that's why I'm kind of like, I'm about to whoop you.
and that, you know what? That's my favorite part of watching you. That's my favorite part of watching you because you're talking 2, 3, 4 people who are all supposed to be sort of on the same plane in terms of political intelligence, going toe to toe. Make them look stupid. It actually is really good television. I'm talking about in a classroom where the playing field is level, right? You've got that one person whose parents did what your parents did, and that's not dissing parents who didn't do that, because I'm going to tell you, my parents were very, very concerned with making sure that we were well-rounded, but that's just not something that they were very exposed to.
Which is why
they were exposed
which is
to.
why connecting
Their
the dots
parents.
matter, because
Exactly.
because the thing is, if we begin to connect the dots. So I had a young girl who calls. She was a young woman in 2016. She said, I'm watching your show and I'm reading your social media. She said, but look, I'm just not feeling Hillary Clinton, and I don't care about Trump, so I'm not going to be focused on the presidential election. I said, really? I said, okay. So what are the issues you were concerned about? I said, give me 5. It was my radio show. She gave me 5. I said, you do know that who is president has a direct impact on all 5 of those issues. She had no idea. Here she was thinking, well, I don't care about presidential campaign. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on what's happening in my state, which was North Carolina. And I said, so you do know that 2 black women two African Americans have been appointed to the federal bench from your state, but your 2 Republican senators, Barr and Tillis, have barred them from even getting confirmation hearing.
Wow.
She's like, I said, and you do know who appointed them to the federal bench, the president.
Right.
And so she's like, really? I'm going, yeah. So I begin to walk her through, trying to get her to understand that you can't just take off that election because you say, I don't like either candidate. And people get caught up in this whole thing of, well, lesser of 2 evils. Here's the reality. Somebody is going to win.
Right.
One or the other.
Right.
You better make a decision. Okay, I don't like neither one, but I like that one a lot less than that one.
Right.
You got to make that call.
Absolutely.
And not act as if it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
And that's also, I think, one of the hardest things to people, because there were a lot of young black folks who in 2016 were mad with Hillary Clinton about the super predator comment, mad about any number of things, and they said, oh, she's the same as Donald Trump. Are they saying that today?
Exactly.
Nah.
Exactly. But you just gave the consummate cop out. You know what I mean? It's the child who's bogged down with homework assignments from 3 different teachers. They look at it and they can either say, okay, I'm going to get me some Kool-Aid and a cookie, and I'm just going to dive in and then just start and see how much I can get done. Or it's like, you know what? Forget all this. I'm going to go outside and play, or sorry, Generation Z. I'm going to go to my phone and play. Do you know what I mean? So
Yep.
I think, again, going back to my 3 friends, finding people who are like-minded, finding people that you actually connect with, people who find the same things important that you find important, people whose conversations you enjoy having, right? So talk to those friends. And then when you talk to those friends, find people among that group of friends who are more politically inclined. I'm glad we're friends, because I'm just not, but because of friendships like yours, that's what made me figure out that, my vote did matter, and that it was important for me to vote and get out there, even if I wasn't doing everything, perfectly, just trying, and then learning from the mistakes, whatever mistakes that I made, and trying again and getting better the next time that I went out to vote or to speak about something, political. And I think that having that's the start. That's the way that we do it, because we can't go back and undo, like I can't go back in time and make myself be at the polls when I wasn't. So that's where the civic piece comes in. But I can start now. And that's what, I started when I started. And now I'm a part of more, political drives to get other people to vote. I'm not the world's smartest when it comes to politics. I'm the first to admit that. I'm not even the second or third. but I'm trying, and I think that's really the message here. Get out and vote because it does matter. Your vote absolutely matters. And you made a really great point. I mean, you may not know exactly every nuance of a political candidate's platform, but you do know that you like what this person's saying, maybe a little bit more than you like what this person's saying. There's a vote. Vote for the one you like a little bit better. And then the next, as you get to know them a little bit more, and the next time you get to know them a little bit more, maybe you get to know a little bit more about this person, start having those political conversations, even if you don't understand everything that's being said, even if you don't understand every term, surround yourself with it. When you were a kid and your parents took you to the polls the first time, you didn't understand what was going on. You just knew this is something that you had to do, and you'd rather be out climbing trees with your friends. Your parents just made you be in that environment.
Stay right there.
Exactly.
Pass
out these things. You just have to pass out these little pamphlets. You didn't know if they were church, pamphlets or if they were political.
Reading it. You know what I mean? This person run up for county commissioner.
Being around it made you start reading it.
Yeah.
And then as you started getting more familiar with it, it became commonplace to you. Then you started learning more and more. And then you got to the point where you was cussing out Miss Joseph. I'm sorry, Miss Joseph.
Look, you could just, blame my parents for that. Mm-hmm. Blame them.
They didn't beat you.
And then of course, the problem is, then I got all these P's and U's in conduct in school because
you really dating yourself because
I don't care. I got P's and U's, and then of course, then I get my ass whipped when I got home because I was talking so much in school. But see, now my parents are retired, living in my house. And the car they have is paid off.
So they can't talk back either. So you just mouthy all the way around.
No, because of the money I make now talking. So now my dad's like, don't stop talking.
Right.
I'm like, oh.
Right.
Oh, I said, what you need to understand, I said, you should be apologizing to me all of my ass whippings.
Why are you always trying to get grown folks to apologize to you? Miss Joseph, your mom and daddy, everybody got to apologize to Roland today.
Because that was practice.
Oh my gosh.
See, what I did in school was practicing for what I do right now.
Fair enough.
So, and now that you living in my house that's paid for, then you need to be apologizing because that practice made today possible.
Okay, I'm gonna have to say that I understand what you're saying because that's the reason why my parents will refuse to ever live with me because they know that I'll be just like you. When I was walking around on my toe knuckles and I was singing into my hairbrush with my little towel over my head pretending to accept my awards, y'all told me to sat down. Not sit down. Sat down.
Right.
Now I'm out here acting and I'm doing all the things that I used to walk around imagining in my head that I was doing. So what now?
Right. They're like,
they're not gonna hear it.
No, you're right.
Oh, we always knew. We always knew.
I will be quick to remind.
See, and they won't even give me the satisfaction of being in that position. They're like, yeah, cool. You be over there.
Oh, just do what I did. I did it standing in front of a church when I had to give a sermon. And my dad had to go back to my brother's house to get more copies of my books because we sold out at the first service.
Oh.
And so when he was walking in, I told the story on the microphone about all the beatings and everything. So he couldn't say nothing. There was about 1,000 people sitting right there.
Right.
So yeah, I told the story. I told the story.
Terrible.
I don't care. When you got the microphone, you in control of it.
That's right.
Well, a couple more questions.
Okay.
We talk about issues in public policy. How do you use your platform in terms of the work to speak to these issues? The legal show you did on BET.
Yes, in contempt.
In contempt. You dealt with real life stuff, dealing with the criminal justice system, dealing with just the lack of public defenders, how hard it is, lack of resources. Anybody who watched that show should understand that wasn't fiction. Yeah, you had these elements that were comedic, that were entertaining, but the reality is what you were dealing with is what is actually happening in our world.
Yeah, it wasn't fiction for today, and actually the cases that I did cover in contempt were specific cases that our showrunner represented or colleagues of hers represented, which she was in the New York Public Defender's Office. So yes, they were real then, and they are today. I think it's been, I don't want to date her, but I would say maybe 20 years since she was, in the New York Public Defender's Office, and those are the same issues. I mean, you literally can turn on the TV and match, which case is happening for which news story being covered. The one thing that I did do as a result of that was I joined the Innocence Project and became an Innocence ambassador. I learned a lot from my show, and I think that it's dealing with politics, but it's just, a sort of a different branch of it, obviously, the criminal justice system. But what that allowed me to do was to be open and available to opportunities that came my way in that. So with the Innocence Project, their focus is exonerating people who have been wrongly convicted of crimes and are have been serving time, sometimes life sentences.
Which is directly tied to elections, because who we elect as district attorneys
absolutely
plays a role. And so for the longest, we ignored who the DA is. When you mentioned all these names on the ballot,
right.
people would vote for president or senate or governor, but they would ignore what was down ballot.
Exactly.
And they kept pushing D.C. for change, when the reality is the person who has the most impact on criminal justice reform, on mass incarceration, is the person who is district attorney.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, even your governors. I mean, I was just talking to Stacey Abrams the other day, and she was talking about the system in Georgia and how.
For folks who don't know, Stacey Abrams, of course, who was running for governor
First black female governor.
Georgia, of course. For Erica, it's, I was talking to Stacey Abrams, just like everybody.
Just having a moment.
Like everybody would just know.
As I've gotten into this whole political realm, doors open. People come and present themselves. I'm friends with Roland. I'm friends with Stacey Abrams.
Of course, she's being from Tallahassee. What?
Well, actually, I'm from Atlanta, because I did spend the most time there as a youth.
Really?
Yeah.
But I'm sure she'll be name dropping Andrew Gillum, who of course is running for governor in Florida, who is the Tallahassee mayor. But yes, go ahead.
My great grandfather was a senator, but whatever.
Your great grandfather was a senator.
Yeah.
State or U.S.
State.
Who is he?
His name was William Cabot Hodges.
So you had a great grandfather who was a state senator.
And yes.
And you didn't know a damn thing about voting going on.
Nope. Well, it's a convoluted story. He was a white man, and we were that family that.
They ain't convoluted. That's
yes,
called
it is.
The history of the United States and black people.
Exactly. But our separation from him, because we could not be named as we were the black family, was our separation
So he
from
was
all
creeping.
of it. So,
You did more than creeping.
is that what rape means? or what? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. That's a whole nother talk show. But,
I got you. I
yeah.
got a Confederate general on my side too.
Yeah. So I think our separation from that, was also our separation from politics. I have an uncle who got into it, but our family's a bit disjointed, so it's not like it was, something that was all consuming in our family. Politics was just not that.
Last question for
Yeah.
you. What are the three most important issues that matter to you?
Education is a huge one. I am really, really bothered by the fact that, your education is directly based on the area that you're from and the level that you're allowed to receive. That really disturbs me. The criminal justice system, obviously. There are far too many people of color, and people in general. Nobody deserves to spend a day in prison for a crime that they did not commit. The fact that people are spending anywhere from, 1 to 30 plus years in prison for crimes that they didn't commit, and then when they're released, they're not properly compensated for the time and their lives that have been stripped from them. So criminal justice. And the third thing is equal pay for women, which is unfortunately still an issue today across the board for women and people of color. It's such a set thing, and nobody does enough to make sure that it's absolved. So those are the three issues that.
All right.
Really
So last thing here, we're going to do a test.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, you're going to school. This is the last thing here. And so I did a panel at the NAACP convention.
Okay.
And everybody on the panel failed. So just letting you know.
Well,
so
good. Thank you for making me feel better.
Okay. I'm just letting you know that in advance. So let's say you roll upon a Gen Z, a Gen Y, a millennial, a Gen
A
AA,
13-year-old.
whatever, but somebody who is either first-time voter or they haven't voted, or even if they are 30, 40, 50, 60, you've got 30 seconds to explain to them why they should vote. What do you tell them in those 30 seconds? Go.
Okay, your right to vote was really hard fought for, and it was hard won by your ancestors. There are people who absolutely died. They died for the right for you to be able to vote. Anything that you are dealing with right now, from the way that you are treated in your school systems, to the amount of money your parents have to pay for that school, to how you're treated when you go to the doctor's office, to the amount of insurance that your parents have. When you see your parents arguing over bills, those are things that can be affected by the fact that you vote. And if you vote, all those things can change. And every single vote matters. What else do I want to tell you?
I don't know, because you had 40 seconds.
Huh? 40?
You had 40 seconds.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right.
So
So
it was 30 seconds. That was the test. The test was to do it in 30 seconds.
wow. I thought you here. Let me tell you why that test is unfair, and this is why I would vote you out as teacher. Because you looked at your watch indicating you were going to tell me when my time was up. You didn't say you have 30 seconds, time yourself.
No.
You said you have 30 seconds, go.
See, that's right
Normally
here.
when that happens,
That's
no,
right here. No,
here's
so,
precedence.
Okay,
Let's go back to
hold on.
precedence.
So you got a watch on?
No, I don't. And
Okay.
that's something that you
All
should have
right,
asked
hold
me
on.
whenever.
No, it's all
Okay,
good.
fine.
All right. Tell me when to go.
Let me tell you something.
No. Take
You
the watch.
can't create
no.
the test.
Take the, no, here's
And
the deal.
then
No, I'm going
say,
to.
you know
I'm
what, you
going to
take it,
show
now you fail, now I'm going to take it. You created the test.
Take
That's
the watch.
an unfair advantage.
Take the watch.
Again, reasons why you should
No,
vote. People are given unfair
I
advantages
am-
in this world,
I'm
and
going-
in order to change that and to make the playing fields
the
level,
watch.
like he's showing us right now, you need to get out there and vote.
Take the watch.
Be woke, not vote.
Take the watch.
Mm-hmm.
Take the watch.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me when to go. I'm looking at this camera right here.
Go.
Why should you vote? Because Freddie Gray can. Why should you vote? Because Trayvon Martin can. Why should you vote? Because Laquan McDonald, Rakia Boyd, Ina Jones, they can't vote. Your vote can make the difference on any issue it matters, but you have to actually use it.
I'm going to tell you something. That was less than 30 seconds.
I'm
You
just
timed
saying.
that.
I'm just
You
saying.
timed- And I'm just saying. He
I'm
timed that. And I'm
just
going to keep
saying.
you watch. He
I'm just
timed
saying.
that in the mirror.
I just want to let y'all know how
He
that's
timed
done.
that in the mirror before he came here when
No,
he
I'm just
knew he
wanna
was
let you-
going to
I'm
create
just-
that bogus test to
What?
trap everybody. Let me tell you something. This is what happens. This is what the government does. They set up these random tests, right, to perpetuate this voter suppression and this voter disenfranchisement, just the way you did with this test. If you can pass this test, then you can vote. But they already know the answers to the test.
No, that wasn't literacy
So they give you
test.
the test. No, they
But
give
just-
you the test. Here's the thing. The answer, if he had said to me, if he had spelled it out the way that you want things to be spelled out to you when it comes to politics, if he had said to me, Erica, I'm going to give you a test. The test is convince someone to
To
vote
the audience.
in 30
Do y'all
seconds.
think she
Am I-
protesting too much?
I don't think
Yeah.
you can protest too much.
Suck it
I
up.
think if it's,
Suck it up.
See, and this is what the
You
government
fail,
wants you to do.
you can retake
the
the
government
test.
wants you to suck it up.
But
They
do
don't
me
want
a
you to
favor,
protest.
give my damn
They don't
watch
want you to
back.
go- Nope, you
Don't be
lost
try-
your
don't be
watch.
trying to sit on my watch.
Listen, he gave me the watch. If you give somebody something, this is now their property. Did you not see him hand me the watch? We got 3 cameras, 2 mics, 4 if you count in our labs, showing that you gave me that watch. This watch is mine. But my point is that the government wants to shut us down. They want to keep us quiet. They want to say that the issues that matter to us don't really matter. That's what he's showing us right now. He just gave me a bogus test that he already knew the answers to and said, oh, you failed, I passed, I win. That's basically what the issue boils down to. You just brought it down to you just made it fodder for the goats. That's what you just did.
All I'm saying is this here. This is why we did the test. What often happens is we say people died for your right to vote. Mm-hmm. That's great, but we got to make it relevant to a person today. So
Agreed.
if they are out there protesting about these black men and black women who've been shot and killed by cops, I'm not going to bring up Jimmy Lee Jackson, who was shot and killed in Selma in '65. I'm going to bring up these young folks who can't. That's all it was. Erica Ash, thank you so very much. Yes.
And thank you
and
for my
so,
watch.
now the watch gonna come back. Again, folks, use your power. It is power, but most importantly, after you vote. Remember, voting is one process. Election day is the end of one process. What happens the day after the election is the beginning of another. We need you engaged. We need you involved. We need you informed. Register, vote, and then make sure the folks who you voted for do what they say they were going to do, and then if the person you voted for lost, then hold the other folks accountable because you are still a constituent. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered, the blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play.